There's a popular saying within the plant community, plants make people happy. But does it really? May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I thought it's a good time to reflect on my and our collective plant journey with regards to our mental health. With everything going on lately, still dealing with a pandemic 2 years in, women's bodily autonomy hanging on the balance, war overseas, immigration and refugee crisis, socioeconomic inequalities from housing, healthcare, food, jobs, education, and not to mention our own challenges and problems, the last thing you probably want to hear is someone else dump their issues and trauma on you. However, my intention is not to do that, but rather to take time to reflect and share my thoughts and experiences on how my plant journey has played a role in my mental health. And I believe that anyone on their own plant journey will likely and hopefully relate, regardless of our backgrounds. Like with many things, owning lots of indoor plants has become a stereotype for millennials and Gen Z, but it is the one hobby that's probably popular across generations. The hobby became mainstream during the start of the pandemic when we were quarantined and in lockdown. We were isolated from our friends, co-workers, schoolmates, family, and loved ones. Many found themselves living alone and disconnected for a long period of time for the very first time. And on the other end, stuck with people they probably didn't want to be stuck with, but had to out of necessity. Either way, there was a form of isolation and feeling stuck that was experienced unlike ever before. That, along with the never-before experienced insecurities and fears that suddenly arose from the pandemic, made a lot of us turn to plants as a way to cope with the stress and anxiety, to give us purpose in our idleness and restlessness, to feel connected when we are isolated, or in turn, have moments to ourselves and turn plant care into self-care. However, the plant hobby is certainly not new or something that just became mainstream during the pandemic. What used to be more known as an older person hobby, it was already becoming popular with the younger generations pre-pandemic, especially for those who live in urban cities that lack green spaces. Taking care of houseplants was a way to bring nature indoors and allow us a few minutes of our day or a few hours a week to disconnect from our busy and demanding and yet monotonous lifestyle without having to take time off or make arrangements in advance or have to travel in order to escape our daily lives. It has become a form of active meditation to get our bodies moving and get our minds still as we reconnect with nature and in turn ourselves with a simple act of repotting or watering our houseplants. But regardless of when you started your plant journey, pre or post-pandemic, even for those who thought they didn't have a green thumb, taking a chance on bringing in a houseplant home and becoming responsible for its survival was an easy choice to make because it is relatively low stakes. If they do die, the plants are easily replaceable. Plants can be bought anywhere from garden centers to grocery stores. Plant shops have popped up everywhere too. Plants can now even be ordered online from across the world and have it be delivered to our front step. And in the process of surrounding ourselves with greenery and creating our indoor jungle, we learn lessons on how to not just take care of our houseplants, but can also apply to our everyday lives. And it might seem outrageous that we could learn all of those life lessons and coping mechanisms from just trying to keep a pothos plant alive. But my plants have taught me many things that I'm grateful for and probably would not have brought those very much needed changes in me if I haven't gotten into plants. My plants have taught me patience instead of wanting instant gratification, as plants take time to grow and will not speed up the process no matter how much we love it. In fact, too much DLC can kill them. When trying to find out what's wrong with my plants or simply how to best take care of them, that process made me become more analytical instead of emotional when figuring out solutions and approaches to problems, be methodical instead of being rash in my decision making. They've also taught me to be less controlling of things that are absolutely out of my control and focus on what I can do and don't let the failures define me or take away from my successes. And one of the biggest things my plants have taught me is to live a more sustainable lifestyle, or at least try to incorporate more eco-friendly habits in my everyday life and encourage others to do the same. It is a huge oxymoron if we are so into bringing plants indoors while we continue to contribute to the destruction of their natural habitats. I do believe plants have made many people care more about the environment, sustainability, climate change, conservation, and creating more green spaces in their own communities. But one of the unexpected things my plants have also taught me is financial literacy, at least motivated me to become more financially fluent. I gained social media platforms thanks in large part to creating content with my plants and are now part of my income when I pay my taxes. That pushed me to learn more about the business side of social media, to track my expenses and know where my finances are at any given time, to save and learn how to invest, how to go into business, and to take advantage of and create opportunities for me to achieve financial stability now and in the near future. So do plants make people happy? So far, it seems that the answer is unequivocally yes. It is no longer just a form of escapism or active meditation. It has been life-changing in every aspect of my life. I would always encourage anyone to get into plants, even if they think it's not for them, they might be surprised. However, like many things in life, plants are not the answer or the magic thing that will help solve everything that's going wrong in our lives. As any person with at least a year or two into their plant journey, they will attest that plants do not come with a happiness guarantee. As we now enter the later stages of the pandemic and people are going back to their quote-unquote normal lives, some are saying that the plant community is dying. Now that the honeymoon phase with our plants is over or the mainstream hype has gone down, plants do not give the same level of joy or excitement. By also accumulating so many plants in such a short period of time, the inner jungle is looking more like a hoarder nightmare. The plant hobby is no longer a form of escapism, but one feels the need to now escape from. What used to be moments of self-care and active meditation, taking care of houseplants is no longer therapeutic, but a chore and responsibility like every other. Previously believing that plants are or can be a substitute for going to therapy or seeking mental health assistance, some have found their plants could make their depression worse, since they feel guilty that they are unable to take care of their plants when they can barely take care of themselves at the moment. So it has become a rude awakening that plants do not make people happy. Not all the time at least, and not by themselves alone. They can be a great form of coping mechanism, and plant therapy is a real beneficial thing, but it cannot fully substitute for seeking professional help for mental health. While yes, both stigma against taking therapy and accessibility for mental health services needs to greatly improve in our society, we cannot rely solely on our plants to help better our mental health and feel worse or blame our plants when they fail or no longer able to make us happy. Plants have also become another victim of conspicuous consumption, and the desire to have the trendiest and rarest of plants have driven many people into debt and spending money that they don't have. But the high and serotonin boost from buying plants is ephemeral, so buying more plants has become its own hobby altogether in order to continue to chase that high. And I admit I wasn't immune to this. Though I never got into debt, I certainly have spent more on my plants than I should. Plant shopping and plant unboxings are among my favorite plant content to watch. I used to go on plant shopping every week myself as a new form of retail therapy, and somehow was shocked when I had more plants in my collection than I initially thought. When I realized I had more than 100 plants in my collection, that was my wake-up call. I had to stop spending money on plants that I don't really want but feel I need to have because I saw someone else have it or want to be among the first to have one. I tried putting myself on plant bans, which to anyone who has tried it knows that it has never ever worked. So instead, I set a budget that I can spend and limit myself to a certain number of plants I can buy within a year. While I still exceeded that number of plants I added into my collection last year, I did spend below my budget as half of the plants I got were from plant trades. But even then, half of the plants that I did actually buy did survive. While of course, there's no guarantee that every plant we buy will survive, having more plants that I'm able to take care of, either from lack of time, lack of desire, or both, certainly contributed as to why those plants die, and therefore wasting my money in the end. And even though I had that realization, the change did not happen overnight. It took a long time for me to no longer feel the need to buy every single trending plant, and I'm able to go plant shopping to just look at the plants and not bring a plant home with me each and every time. And with a lot of convincing myself and a lot of effort, I have since halved my plant collection. But there are still days that I do get overwhelmed with the plants that I do have. Sometimes that leads to impulsively giving away or selling my plants, or even letting the plant die, which was unthinkable when I first started my plant journey. But what I have now learned is that even for plants that I thought were my favorites, when I have to let them go or they do die, I don't miss them or feel as much of a huge loss as I thought I would. There are plants that I've certainly regretted selling or losing, but more often than not, I surprise myself that it's not that big of a deal to lose a plant that I thought was irreplaceable or very important to me. and yes, even for the monstera albo that I killed. It is not that I become indifferent or do not have the same level of interest for plants, but it's also one of the key lessons my plants taught me, that is to no longer waste my mental and emotional energy on things that I cannot change or do anything about anymore. It is okay to acknowledge the loss and feel what I'm feeling, but not let myself hyperfixate on it. What I can do is learn from my mistakes instead of dwelling on them. And again, this is not a switch that suddenly flipped or a consistent view that I have held since, but it's a perspective that I now can have when I never did before. I also used to propagate every single viable part of my plants because I didn't want to let them go, especially since I got the plant when they were still very much uncommon. But now I'm learning that it's okay for cuttings to end up in the compost. And to be honest, I still do it sometimes, saving plants that I should probably let go. But whether you are in year 1 or year 10 of your plant journey, it's a continuous learning and unlearning and relearning process. And like with any other hobby, there will be ups and downs, and interests would grow and wane, and my relationship with my plants won't always be the same as when I first began my plant journey. It is a journey after all, but I do find that what got me into plants is still what keeps me into plants. The mental health benefits I get from taking care of my plants are still there, but I also learned to develop other coping mechanisms and to find ways to better my mental health. While my plant collection will change and how it is a part of my daily life will evolve, I do believe plants have become and will always be a part of my lifestyle now. And for some, plants might be the thing that helped them when they needed it the most, but now have to let go and move on. And if that is you, that's more than okay. Do not let your plants prevent you from seeking other interests that will help you better yourself and your community. Plants will always be there for you to get back to if you find yourself seeking another plant journey. You can always watch my journey and live vicariously through mine. Or you simply might find yourself needing to make changes with your plants as your life changes. So it doesn't have to mean all or nothing. And you can find a happy place where you and your plants can make each other happy. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Marianne. Welcome to My Oasis Life, where I take you along my houseplant journey and share with you some of my tips and tricks along the way. I also create lifestyle content that is focused on sustainability, productivity, and wellness, and also share some of my personal and travel vlogs here and there. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave a comment down below, and check out these videos up here until my next one. But until then, I see you, I appreciate you, take care of yourself and each other, and have a plantiful day. Bye!